Picture a ship shaped like a spaceship, a ship that stands up on stilts in the middle of the ocean, and a ship that was never even built but almost changed how humans live forever. Ships are supposed to be simple: a hull, an engine, a way to stay afloat. But every so often, someone looks at simple and decides it's boring. What's left behind are machines that barely look like ships at all. Here are the strangest ships ever built. Before we get into the first one, hit subscribe and drop a like on this video. It genuinely helps the channel grow, and there's a lot more unhinged engineering coming your way. Okay, let's get into it. The stealth spaceship. In the early 2000s, the US Navy unveiled the USS Zumwalt, and it looked less like a warship and more like something that crash-landed from another planet. Every surface is angular, sloped, and stripped of the usual clutter you'd expect on a destroyer. No rounded edges, no vertical walls, nothing for radar waves to bounce cleanly off of. The hull itself uses a design called a tumble home, where the sides slope inward as they go down toward the waterline, the exact opposite of almost every ship ever built. That shape helps the vessel disappear on radar, making a ship the length of a football field show up looking like a small fishing boat. It cost billions of dollars, carries weapon systems built for a battlefield that barely exists yet, and to this day looks like it belongs in a movie more than a Navy fleet. It's proof that making something invisible sometimes means making it look completely alien first. The shark that breaks ice. Out in the Arctic, Russian icebreakers spend their entire existence smashing through frozen ocean, and one of them decided to look terrifying while doing it. Painted across the bow of certain Russian icebreaking vessels is a massive set of shark teeth and eyes, turning a 100-meter-long hull into what looks like a sea monster charging through the ice. It's not just for show. These ships use their sheer weight to ride up onto the ice sheet and crush it downward, and the paint job has become a strange kind of tradition among Arctic crews, a way of giving a brutal machine a face. Underneath the paint is nuclear-powered propulsion strong enough to plow through ice several meters thick without slowing down, clearing paths for cargo ships that would otherwise be trapped for months. It's one of the only places on Earth where an ice-crushing nuclear vessel and a cartoon shark somehow make perfect sense together. The ship that touched the deepest point on Earth. In 1960, a strange steel sphere hanging beneath a giant float did something no vehicle had ever done before. It's called the Strangest, and it carried 2 people down nearly 11,000 meters into the Mariana Trench, the deepest point in every ocean on the planet. The bulk of the vessel above the sphere wasn't for crew or cargo. It was filled with gasoline, because gasoline is lighter than water and doesn't compress under crushing pressure, giving the whole structure the buoyancy it needed to survive the descent. The crew sat inside a cramped steel ball barely large enough to move in, watching pressure numbers climb to levels that would flatten most submarines instantly. When they finally reached the bottom, they became the first humans to see the deepest place on the planet with their own eyes, in a machine that looked more like an oversized balloon than a ship. The floating city that never happened. Not every strange ship on this list actually made it into the water. In the 1990s, a group of engineers proposed something called the Freedom Ship. A vessel over 1,300 meters long, designed to be a permanent floating city holding tens of thousands of residents at once. The plan included apartments, schools, a hospital, an airstrip on the roof, and enough space that residents would never need to set foot on land again. It was supposed to slowly circle the globe every few years, docking near major coastlines so people could come and go as they pleased. Engineers drew up detailed plans, investors were pitched, and renderings were released showing something that looked more like a city skyline lying on its side than a ship. But the funding never fully came together. The scale of the engineering challenge was enormous, and the project quietly stalled before a single section of hull was ever built. It remains one of the most ambitious ships to ever exist purely on paper. The ship that stands on legs. Offshore wind farms need enormous turbines installed far out at sea, and regular ships simply aren't stable enough for the job. So engineers built jack-up vessels, ships that sail out looking completely normal, then do something strange once they arrive. Massive steel legs lower down from the sides of the hull straight through the water until they hit the seabed. Once anchored, the entire ship lifts itself clean out of the ocean, rising several meters above the waves on its own legs like some kind of mechanical spider. With the hull fully out of the water, there's no rocking, no drifting, and no wave motion to fight against, letting cranes lift wind turbine blades taller than skyscrapers into place with millimeter precision. Then, once the job is done, the legs retract, and the ship lowers itself back down and sails off looking like nothing ever happened. The ship powered entirely by the sun. In 2010, a strange, wide, almost flat catamaran called the Turanor Planet Solar set out to do something no vessel had ever attempted: circle the entire globe using nothing but solar power. Its deck is covered edge to edge in over 500 square meters of solar panels, giving it the look of a floating solar farm more than a ship. There's no diesel backup, no wind assistance, just batteries charged directly by sunlight, storing enough energy to keep moving through the night and through stretches of cloudy weather. The design prioritizes surface area over speed, which is why it looks so unusually wide and flat compared to a normal boat. After roughly a year and a half at sea, it completed its journey around the world, proving that a ship could cross oceans without burning a single drop of fuel. A destroyer shaped like it fell from space. A shark-faced ship built to crush ice. A steel sphere that touched the bottom of the ocean. A floating city that stayed a dream. A ship that stands up on its own legs. And a vessel that sailed around the planet on sunlight alone. Every one of these exists because someone looked at a normal ship and refused to leave it that way.